today's session. Thank you all for joining us and participating in our Instructional Design with Canvas virtual course. My name is Aubrey Harrison. I'm a digital innovation specialist here in CMS, and I'm being joined by Trish Cloud. So we kind of comprise, along with our supervisor, Aaron Shoemaker, the digital innovation team here in CMS. So thank you for being a part of this. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Just so you know, the session is being recorded. I think Trish posted that in the chat room. If you have any questions as we go along, it's a small group. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask any questions. If you want me to clarify or redo something, you're welcome to just unmute yourself to say something say something, or you can post something in the chat and Trish can add any support for you there. So we are going to begin. I probably should share my screen. All right. So we're going to be talking a little bit about instructional design with Canvas. I am going to be going a little bit in and out in between this and Canvas, just in case I wanted to show you something or to demonstrate something. So you will just be going through using that format. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we do as a part of this course is to introduce you to the CMS Design Principles. So our specialist who designed our blueprint courses that teachers will be receiving participated in a blueprint design course that is very similar to what you all are experiencing now. So we talked to them about the design principles here that we developed. And that's what we thought would be helpful, is not only would be good to our specialists to see them, but also for our teachers who are going to be receiving these blueprint courses. It might be helpful for them to know this as well, so that when they are making modifications to the course based off of the needs of their students or consistencies within their school building, they can continue to still follow the design principles that we have here in CMS, even though they might be making changes to the blueprint that they received. So we thought it'd be helpful to go over this with you. So we're not going to go over all the principles in today's training. We're just going to focus on a couple of them. And then when we meet again tomorrow, we'll go over a different one. But those are the primary principles that comprise our CMS instructional design principles. So it's intuitive design, it's essentially designing a course that is predictive and easy to follow. There is a predictive progression that goes along with it. So there's more information about that in the course that talks about that. We talk about purposeful formatting. So we're going to be getting in that in more detail in this particular session, where we talk about the way that we include content and the way that we format that content for our students, and making sure that as we do that, we're setting it up in a way that is accessible for all of our students. Communication and feedback is the next one, and we're going to be getting into that more tomorrow, and we're going to hit rubrics pretty hard tomorrow. So we'll get into detail with that. Proofreading with perspective, so making sure that as we are designing our courses, we're going back and we're trying to take a look at it from the lens of our students, and also from ourselves, from the lens of a teacher as well. So it's important to have both perspectives as you're going through it. So that section talks about that. And then also embedding judiciously, so making sure that if you are embedding content in there, that you're being mindful and purposeful for when and how you are embedding. So we'll be talking about that a little bit for that one today. And just as a reminder for this course, there is an asynchronous part of the course where you'll have some content that you'll be able to review. Goes into the design principles in a little bit more detail. And there is also a demonstration of mastery that's going to ask you to submit. And all that content that you have to turn in is due by the 14th of August. So just make sure that you get that in as quickly as you can. And then there's a requirement to attend our 2 synchronous sessions. So We had 2 today. This is our second one. They both cover the same content. And then we're going to have one, or excuse me, we're going to have 2 tomorrow. Both of those will cover the same content, which is basically going over the feedback that in different ways we can provide that for students. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right in with some of this content that we have that we want to talk about with in terms of our formatting and some of the content that we put in there with our students, or for our students, excuse me. So the first thing we want to just talk about is the navigation. And so we want to talk about making sure that we are designing courses that are simple for our students to navigate. So we want to begin by looking at our navigation menu and really considering the things that are included inside of that. How much do we want to put in there? What do we want to include? How do we customize this to best suit the needs of our students? So many of you may already be familiar with the Canvas course navigation menu. You all have seen it. So, but just for clarification, when I'm talking about the Canvas course navigation menu, I'm referring to these items that are over here on the side. And this is all of the items that as a teacher, you have the ability to go in and add content to. So I could go in here and add, create an assignment or create modules or create pages or so on and so forth. As a teacher, you have access to all of these things and you can use them as needed. But one thing that's important to consider as you're building this course is that your students will only have access or only be able to see, the items in the course navigation menu that don't have these little icons next to it. These little icons indicate one of 2 things. It means either that you have disabled this item or this item is currently disabled for students to be able to view, or it means that you currently don't have any content for that particular item. So maybe if you have enabled modules, but you have no modules created, then you'll probably will see that menu there as well. So you do have the ability to modify this. And so we just encourage you to, as you do that, to think through what information or what content your students need to be able to have access to it, and is using this course module or this course menu the best way to access that content. So for example, I can say that I really need my students to be able to access their assignments. And so maybe I want to include that in here, but I could also make the argument that maybe I do need them to have access to their assignments, but not from here. Maybe I want them to have access only from the module view, or maybe from a page where I have it posted. That way I can ensure that they are viewing the content first and not just jumping to the assignment to try to complete it. So there's lots of different thought process for that. So there's not necessarily one that's wrong. You just have to make decisions on what you think would be the simplest point of reference for your students. Do you want them to see all of these things, a few of these things? I would generally recommend that you minimize this to just the things that they have to access from the navigation menu. So if you're not familiar with the navigation menu, you'll see it when you are in a course where you are the teacher, and you can modify it by going down to and clicking on the settings option. And again, the settings option will only display if you are in a course where you are a teacher. One of the things that you can do as we go through this, as I talk about some of these things, because we do have a short amount of time and there's a lot of things I want to just share with you. If you want to follow along, if you want to try some of these things as I talk about them, you're welcome to open up a sandbox course and begin practicing or just looking at some of these things from your sandbox course. So once you are in your course where you are an instructor, you'll see the settings option at the end of your navigation menu, and you'll be able to select settings. And then once you do that, you're going to see some tabs up here at the top. You'll see course details, you'll see sections, and then right next to that, you'll see navigation. So I can select navigation. And then over here on the side, actually, before I do that, let me do this in my sandbox course and not the actual course. Let me go over here to settings from here. There we go. And here's my course navigation menu. So you'll see I have this first section up here at the top, and these are all the items in my course navigation menu that would be visible for my students. And if I scroll down beneath it, I'll see some additional items. And these are all items that would not be visible for my students. And I can move things from one section to another in a couple of different ways. So one thing that you can do is if you're in the section and you decide, you know what, my students, we're not going to use the chat feature. Let me go ahead and disable that. Then you can come over here and then click on the 3 dots next to chat and then just choose disabled. And then that'll move the chat down to the bottom of the second section. And now it's no longer visible. It's no longer an option that your students will be using. The other thing that you could do is you could drag options down from one place to another. I could take files, for example. Maybe files isn't something that my students will need to use. I can just simply drag this down to the next section down here. And now it's in that disabled section. And I can continue to do that. I can continue to go through and then just move these out of the way. You can also do the opposite. You can also decide that you do want students to see something. So if you have something down here, maybe, for example, assignments, maybe you do want them to be able to access assignments from your course navigation menu. So you can go up here and you can click the 3 dots and you can click enable, or you can drag it up to the top, however you want to manage them. And then you also have the ability to reorder these in any order if you want. Maybe you want assignments to be something a little bit more prominent. So you put that up at the very top, and that can be the first thing they see underneath home. And so you can play with the order however you want to. But this is where you can set up your course navigation menu. Once you have completed that, you do have the ability to come in here. You'll hit save, and then you'll see all your updated changes over here on the side. Now, there is one additional option I'll mention. I don't know that you'll use it a lot, but just so you are aware of it, there is you do have the ability to customize this, meaning you can add an element in here that's not currently on here. For example, maybe in your course, you want your students to have access to maybe something like a syllabus that you want them to always have access to, and you want that to be visible in the course navigation menu. Or maybe you developed a teacher website that has some really important information that the students can always refer to, and you want them to have access to that from your Canvas course. You can put that in your course navigation menu. Unfortunately, for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate that completely, but I do have a video for that, and it's using something called the redirect tool. So if you're interested in learning how to create your own navigation menu for your Canvas course, keep in mind, you would need to do this for each individual course. So if you decide to customize it and make your own menu option, you would need to replicate that again with your other courses. But I'm going to put a video in here. It's using their redirect tool. And you can follow the guides with that. And if you have any problems with that, if you have any questions, then you can always contact Trish or myself, and we can support you with utilizing that option. So that's the redirect tool that you can use if you wish. Any questions about the navigation menu in Canvas? Okay, so that's a small thing, and I think a lot of us, given this past year, have gotten familiar with that, which is great. But we always just want to make sure that we cover that so that you are aware. The next part we want to look at is formatting some of the content that we put in here, specifically the text that we add to our courses. So one of the important things that we want to emphasize is that the formatting of the text that you are entering in your course is consistent across all your pages. So however you have your content set up on one page, it is going to display the same on all the other pages that follow. So if you're going to use a specific font, or if you're going to use a particular color, that font and that color will be visible across all the pages. So our students are having a consistent learning experience. So it's something that we want to make sure that, and to emphasize as you're building your course, or as you're getting your course and making modifications to it. So that was one of the key things that we wanted to point out. So as you're entering or including text in your course, a couple of things we want to mention to you is, number one, starting with the font size. So technically, in terms of accessibility, you really need to make sure that your font size is at minimum a 12-point font or higher. We do recommend that it be a 14. I have seen the 12-point font on certain screens and certain devices, and some that can be a little strenuous to read. And the 14-point font, from my experience, displays better. So as you're entering content in there, I do recommend that you set your content or your text to be 14-point font. The font family that's available inside of Canvas, Canvas used to only have one font that was available to you, but now they have multiple ones that you can choose from. So there's lots of different options. I have not had a chance to practice all of them on different devices, but I have had a chance to use some of them. They do seem to work pretty well. But if you haven't had a chance to look at some of those different font size styles, you can go, when you go to your Canvas page or wherever element you're using, you can go to format and you'll see there's an option for fonts. And then you'll see all the different font options that are available there. I believe these are all accessible, meaning if the student is using Canvas and you're using any of these options, and their student is using a screen reader or something like that, it will be able to read all of these font sizes clearly. I believe that's the case. But again, I am not saying that from experience, because I have not had a chance to try all of these. But I do believe the ones I've tried worked well, and I believe Canvas would only include ones that were accessible. All right. So you have different options in terms of fonts and font families that you can choose from. The enhancements is another thing that's important. So when I'm talking about the enhancements, I am talking about mostly these three things: the bolds, the italics, and underlines. You do have enhancement options here. So if you want to be able to add text and you want to highlight that text, or you want that text to stand out, you can always come in here and include an enhancement like a bold or an italics or anything like that. And you'll notice that a little blue dot will display whenever you're using that one. But what we do want to mention is there's also an option for underline, and that is not an option that you would want to use for enhancement purposes. And the reason for that is that the underline feature on screen readers, for our students that require the screen readers, the underline reads as a link. So it would be confusing for them to read something that is supposed to be a link, or that is read as a link that's not really a link. So we would encourage you to avoid using the underline option to highlight text. Just stick to the bolds and the italics. You could also alternatively, if you really wanted certain things to stand out, use the color option. So if you wanted to change the text color, you can certainly do that. You can come over here and there's a palette here, and then you can go down and you can choose more specific colors, custom colors if you want to. But just make sure that as you're doing it, you're using colors that are accessible. So you can come over here and you can click on a color and look at it. And then you can use the accessibility checker down here. The accessibility checker will let you know if there is a color that is not accessible. So when I click on this, you see I get the no accessibility issues. So this color is good, we're ready to go. But if I were to use a different color and run this again, you'll see it's going to give me that issue there. And it's going to kind of give me an idea of how I need to change that. And I can come over here and make that adjustment. So just be mindful of that as you're entering your colors in here. If you're using that as a way to make things stand out, make sure you use that accessibility checker to ensure that it is accessible. And finally, the last thing in terms of the formatting of the text is the use of the headings. You do want to make sure that as you are using headings, again, this is something that goes back to the use of our screen readers and the importance of this. Whenever you're using your headings, you do want to make sure that you are using headings in order, and you don't want to skip any headings. So for example, if I were to go back into my course and I were to, let me go back and make this easier to see again. And so I can go over here. So over here right now, it's currently a paragraph, and I have some different heading options here. And I can make this this text a heading 2. So currently now it's a heading 2. And now if I were to go underneath it and I were to add maybe a subheading, whatever comes underneath this first one, which was a heading 2, the next one should be something that is a heading below or heading above that one, or it could be the same one. But you don't want to skip one. So if I were to make this one, for example, like a heading 4, jumping from a heading 2 or a heading 4, that will create an accessibility error. So now if I do my accessibility check, you'll see it's going to tell me headings, heading skip should not be, or heading level should not be skipped. And so it's going to ask you to check on that and to fix that. So that's something small to consider. I know that before we went remote, that was not something that I thought of at all or was aware of, but you live and you learn. So it's just something to be mindful of as you're building your courses or modifying the ones that you receive. Make sure that you don't skip any of the headings that you're using in your course. Are there any questions so far about the text, formatting the text? All right, perfect, good. So we talked a little bit about making text stand out using the bold and the italic enhancements, and even possibly the color. Another thing that we see used a lot for that is the use of buttons. And buttons is a great way to do that as well. It's also a great way to direct our students to places that we need them to go. So we can use buttons that are linked to go to external content or content within Canvas. So there's lots of great uses for that. So I do want to spend some time talking a little bit about buttons, but also links. So when we're talking about links, one of the key things I want to make sure that I get across is the importance of making sure that our links identify the target that we want our students to go to, and we're not using vague or non-descriptive terms to describe where that link is going. So things like learn more or click here are some of those examples of things that we want to try to avoid using. We want to be descriptive about what the link is telling them to go. Even if there is a description or context to go along with the click here link, it's better to include, to make sure that the text itself tells you where the target is going. So when you are making your link, and the good thing is, particularly if you're linking in Canvas, when you're going here to create your link, if you're doing a course link, so if you're linking to something directly in Canvas, whenever you choose something, it will automatically add the text for that. So if I want to add this page, you'll see it'll automatically add the text for that in there for you. So you don't have to worry about that if you're doing something internal. You could just go to links, click internal links like I just did, and then Canvas will provide you with that the text and the link, and they all be set up for you. So that's great, but that's the kind of thing that we want to make sure that we have with any of our links. So if we're doing an external link, then for example, if I have this YouTube video, I can click on that. I'm just going to copy the URL. And if I wanted to include a link to this inside of my course, it's going to be important to make sure that the text explains where this is going. So the name of this video is talking about a tool called Answer Garden. And so what I would do is I could click on link and then choose external links. And I would choose external links because I'm taking them somewhere outside of Canvas. And I could paste my URL there, and I can type in whatever I want my text to be here. So I could type in Answer Garden. And now that's what will display here. And that's what I want, as opposed to like I said, the vague term. Whenever you want to check your links, make sure that you save it first. One common thing that when I'm working with teachers and specialists is they always get here and say, my link's not working. It's not, whenever I click on it, it's not going anywhere. Oftentimes it's because we just forget to go and save it and view it from there. And then once you do that, you'll see that it will open up and it will give you that ability to check the link to make sure that it is working properly. So that is the linking and the importance of making sure that the text for our hyperlink explains where we're going. Now, the other part of this is the use of buttons. So your courses will likely come with buttons already in it. The course designers are going to be given buttons, or they're going to be given access to some common CMS themed buttons that they can use in the course. But what I've seen at other schools is teachers using their own buttons and creating their own, and that's perfectly fine. I don't want to discourage that. And I just wanted to show you some options that you have to do that. For those of you who may be interested in being able to create your own buttons and design your own. So I'm going to show you two options, but just know that there's lots of different ways where you can do this. A button could be anything. It could be something as simple as an image that you find that you want to link to. You could simply just go to up here to upload an image, find an image, and that can be your button. You can link that however you want to. But I'm going to just show you a couple of options for creating your own. So one of the options that is available, and I think I thought I had it up here, but I must have closed it out. Let me pull this back up. Oh, you know what? Here, I have it. I forgot that I linked it here. So I'm going to put this link. One of the options is to use Google Drawing. So Google Drawing gives you the ability to create your own custom anything, really, your own custom creative drawing. It's the platform. It's a kind of a open canvas space where you can design a variety of different things using text and shapes and images and links and all that kind of stuff, and build things from there. But in this case, we would just make something as simple as a button. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Call this my button dimensions. This is just something that you can use if you're interested in using Google Drawings to create your own buttons. And second. Okay, and again, you don't have to use this, but I just want you to know that's something that's there. But when you click on this, it's going to open. It's going to open this up. It'll probably ask you to make your own copy, but it just has a bunch of different banners and headers and buttons from different shapes and sizes that you can start from to create a button that you're going to put in Canvas. And each one of these is linked to its own drawing of that button. So if I were to click on this one, that says life cycle, I could click on it, and then it's going to take me to that particular button. It's going to let you make a copy of it. And then you can go inside of here and edit that button to be whatever you want it to be. So maybe I don't want the button to be this color. I could change the color of this to something completely different if I wanted to. If I needed to change the text for this, I could certainly go about doing that. And call it whatever I want to, change the title of it here. But this is where you can go and modify the button. You have the ability when you come over here, if you want to add additional elements, you could come over here and add another image in here to go along with it. If that was relevant, you could certainly go and do that. There's different shapes that you can include in here as well. But you can come over here and play with the design of this, or you can leave it as something as simple as this and include this into your campus course. But this is Google Drawing. It lives in your Google Drive. So when I made this copy of this, I can go in my Google Drive and locate this. That's why it's important to make sure that I go in here and name this something that's clear so that I can come back and find it quickly. Now, when you're using your Google Drawing as a button, once you have it set up to look however you want it to look, then what you will be able to do is come over here to your drawing, go to File, and click on Publish to the Web. So you can click on Publish to the Web, and then you're going to have to select Publish. And then once you hit OK, it's going to give you a URL here, and it also gives you an embed code. We're not going to use the embed code. We're actually just going to use the link. And I'll explain why here in a second. So I like to use the link, and we do that by selecting it. We're going to copy it. And then now I can go back to my Canvas course, and I can put that link. I can put that link as an image anywhere in my course. So let's say I want my button to live right here. I can select my image here and choose Upload Image. Then here's an option for URL. And all I'm going to do is paste my URL for my button there. And then I'm going to press Submit. And now I have my button there. Now it's not linked to anything. Right now, it's just an image or a visual. And so you could use this as a header or a separator of some sorts for your course, maybe something to label a certain section. But if you wanted to make this something interactive, you could turn this into a link by just selecting it and then choose the link option here, and then just choose what the link is for. So maybe I want to link this to something in my Canvas course, maybe a module or something. I can come down here to my second module and click on it. And now this button that I created is linked. And when students click on it, it will take them to that module. Okay. And so that is the using Google Drawings for buttons. There are some advantages and disadvantages to it. The thing that I do like about this is that because I use this as a link, if I needed to make a change to this, if I find out that, oh, this color really isn't accessible, or maybe I don't want to label this by unit, I want to label this by module, I can come inside of here and change this to module, and maybe I can make this a color that's a little bit more accessible. And just by doing that here in drawing, I can go back to Canvas. When I press save, you see it automatically updated. It changes the color and it changed the wording from unit to module. So any updates that I make to it in drawing, it'll automatically make it for me. in Canvas. So I like that. Doing the steps that it takes to get there, it is a little bit more than most, because you got to make the drawing, you got to make the button itself, and then you got to publish it, and then do all the steps that I just did. So that part isn't great, but the flexibility that you have to be able to make the adjustments in your Google Drive and Google Drawing is something that I do think is nice. So that is you creating buttons in Drawing. Now, I do want to mention one other one that is a little, again, it's one of those things that has some advantages to it that I really like, but it also has some things about it that are a little difficult to manage, but I'm going to show that to you as well. So the other one is a extension that was developed by someone here in our school district, Jake Stanish, and he designed this extension called a useful Canvas tool. And it gives you the ability to pull in different elements, different images that you can put into your course, different labels. And one of the things that it gives you the ability to do is insert a button inside of here. So I'm going to put a link to the useful Canvas tool. And I'm going to put that in the chat. And this is a useful Canvas tool. This is a link to the Chrome extension, so you can access that there if you need to. And when you access the useful Canvas tool, what you will see is in Canvas, you will see this extension here. If you don't see it after you've installed it, you may have to click on this puzzle piece to locate it, but this is what it will say, a useful Canvas tool. And when you, yes, somebody have a question? Oh, okay, I thought somebody had a question. So when you click on the useful Canvas tool, it's going to display a couple of options, this click inject and this drag and drop. And both of these are going to have options inside of it with like icons or these units that you can click on, and you can pick one of these and you can pull this into your course just by dragging it and dropping it in there. So that's a nice option to have. The important thing to note about this is not editable. So you have to, whatever that option says, whatever color it has, that's what you have to use. So that might be perfectly fine. For others, you may want to have a little bit more control. So the other option that's in here is this button maker, where you can create a button from here. So one of the things I do recommend that you do, that if you're making this button a link, I encourage you to already have that link copied. So again, I'm just going to use this video, or actually I won't use the video, I'm going to use this instead. I'm going to use this Google Drawing. And so now I can come over here and I can click on that extension and choose this text button maker. And then when I click on that, you're going to see some boxes up here that I can go in and update. So I can click this one, and where it says button text, I can say, this is the text that's going to display in the button. So I'm just going to say Google Drawing. And then you'll see a sample of the button down here. You'll see there's an option here for button size. I can choose which one that I want. Maybe I want this to be a smaller button. And then for the button width, I can choose normal, or I can choose block, whichever one that you like better. But that's what that one will look like. And then you have different button colors. You can choose one of these that you like, and there's just different ones that are available there. And then over here where it says link option, this is where you can paste the link to this. So I could go here and just, there's a link to this. Now, if I didn't have that, I would have to go back and get it, get the link for it. But if I have to leave this space, then this is going to go away, and you would have to basically enter all this information again, which is not a lot. It's just a little bit of text and then more, just the title that you want to appear in the button and some drop down. So it's not that big of a deal. But that's why I said it's better to have the link going into creating this as you do it. So now what you can do is it tells you down here, you can copy and paste this button in here, or you can just drag it and drop it into the page. So I'm just going to drag it and drop it in here. And there's the button as it appears across the screen there. Okay. And so now I have this Google Drawing button that when I press save and I click on it, it'll open up that Google Drawing option there. And you should have to give it a second, but it will display. I don't want to take up all the time doing that, but that's that particular option. So it's pretty quick. It's pretty simple to make. And that is really helpful. The one downside that I would say to it is, for example, if I were to go back in here and if I decide, you know what, this, I don't want it to go to this page. I want it to go to, maybe I want it to go to this presentation instead. I can go here and click on it. And then where it says link options, I can change this to a different option, a different link. However, when I hit done, you see the button pretty much goes away. Then when I try to save it, it essentially just saves it as a link. The button is pretty much broken. So that's something that I find with this is that when I need to make updates to it, if I need to make a change to it, then it breaks it. And I'd have to do the extension over again. So yeah, like I said before, it's one drawback to it. It's not a huge deal, but it is a little bit of an annoyance. But those are just a couple of options. There's lots of other things that you can do to make buttons. I know Trish really likes to use Canva, and that is the same. That has good and bad to it. Canva, the nice thing about Canva is, particularly in terms of aesthetics, it is the best looking option. It's going to produce the most professional and the best looking image that you're going to be able to use for a button. But the drawback is, in order to enter into Canvas, you would have to download it and then upload it into Canvas. And if there's a mistake in there, if there's something about your button that needs to be changed, you would have to go back into Canva, change it, download it, upload it again to Canvas. And so every single time you needed to make any kind of change to it, you would have to do that download, upload thing every single time. So that's just one of the drawbacks to it. But again, like I said, the nice thing about it is it's of all the options, it looks the cleanest and it looks the best. So that's just, and that's just, maybe that's just my opinion, but I think that's the consensus of most people who use it. All right, are there any questions about links or creating buttons? I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. Okay. So the next part of this is just looking at the use of our multimedia, because we do use a lot of images. We do see a lot of videos in our courses, and which is great. I think it's a great use. I really like the use of visuals as a part of the learning experience for our students. So it's just important to make sure that when we're using these things that we are considering the accessibility of that. So for example, when we include images into Canvas, we're using the alt text. So the alt text will allow screen readers to read to the user what the image is displaying. So if the student is unable to if they're visually impaired and unable to see what the image is, the alt text is what the screen reader goes to tell that person what the image is displaying. So it's really important, not only that we use the alt text, but we have a good description of what the image is in the alt text for those students. So when you insert an image in Canvas, so there's a couple of different ways where you can do that. You can always, when you come over here to, I'm going to get rid of this. I can come over here to this upload image option. And when I choose this upload image option, it's going to give me a couple of different options. I can upload from my computer. So if I have an image on my computer that I want to include in this Canvas course, I can go ahead and upload it from here. Just note that normally when you do that, the alt text will assume the name of the file, which generally speaking is not a good option. That's not a good description of what the image is, but just note that that's what you will see. The URL, if you found something online and the licensure for it is safe for you to use online, then usually when you put this into Canvas, no alt text will show at all. So you'll need to make sure you go back in here and include it. The unsplash option does include an alt text. So for this one, technically speaking, you wouldn't need to make any changes to it. Although I would recommend that you at least take a look at it to see if that fully encompasses what the picture is, if that fully gives the student what is displaying on there. Sometimes it gives you an alt text and it's okay, but it's maybe incomplete. So I'm going to go inside of here, and for my search term, I'm just going to type in school, and I can locate a picture that I want to include as a part of my course. So I'm just going to use this one that says love to learn. I'm just going to press submit. And there my image displays. And now if I want to check the alt text on it, I can click on it and I'll get this image options available to me. And I can select it and see here is the alt text. So this is the alt text that came with it with Unsplash. And once again, if you're uploading something from the computer, then whatever your name of your file on your computer is, that's what will display in the alt text. So this is where you really want to, you might need to come in here and make that change so that it clearly explains what it is. And if you're using a URL from an image you found online, it's not going to display anything at all. So you want to go ahead and choose that. They do have an option here for a decorative image. So if you do choose this option for decorative image, that doesn't require an alt text at all. So it's just the image doesn't necessarily have any, doesn't really add anything. It's just there as a visual. It's not really necessary. So you can choose decorative image, and then you'll see the alt text is grayed out, and you don't have to add anything. So just that is there as well. I'm going to deselect it, but that is the alt text for images. You want to make sure you go in here and include that in your image. In terms of videos that you use, most videos that I see are YouTube videos, and that's a good option because it does have some accessibility options, including the ability to use closed captioning. So if we were to look at this video here, and I were to play this, the video can play. And I can go down here, my students can click on this option for closed captioning. And as the video plays, they'll be able to read what's being said there. They also will have the ability to click on the settings here. And if they need to change the language, they can go over here to where it says subtitle CC, click on that and then choose auto translate and then choose a different language if necessary. So they do have that capability, which is great. That's really helpful. The other thing that I wanted to also mention was this option for an open transcript. So if you needed to get a transcript of the video as well, you can do that here in YouTube. That will provide you a file that you can then upload into Canvas. So if you needed to have something where students could read it, maybe they don't have the ability to watch it, you could provide them a transcript if necessary. I would say that if you are providing audio files, if you have something where it's just, there is no video, there is no closed captioning, it's just an audio file, I would make sure that you have a transcript available for your students who may not be able to listen to the video or listen to the audio recording. That's something that is something that I would say that would be necessary. So just consider that as you are including those options inside of there. We're closing in. We got a few more minutes. I just want to get through these last few pieces. The embedded content. So the main thing we want to make sure everybody understands is that as you are embedding content, that the purpose of embedding the content is clear. Sometimes and I've been guilty of this myself. Sometimes I don't have a clear reason for embedding it. And I would have just been better off just putting it directly into Canvas. Because sometimes what that will do is that can obstruct the loading time for the courses. So we do recommend that if you don't need to embed in there, if there's not a clear purpose for embedding it in there, then we do recommend just putting the content directly into Canvas. Sometimes we will put things in a Google Doc and then just embed the Google Doc. And if there's a clear purpose for that, then by all means, go ahead and use it that way. There are good reasons for embedding content like Google Docs or Google Slide presentations into Canvas. However, there are times where we are embedding things that could be just placed directly into Canvas. So we do recommend that as you're embedding things, you're looking at it and say, can I really just have embedded that, or just place that into Canvas instead of putting it into a Google Doc and then embedding that into Canvas? Just something to think through as you're doing this. So one of the more common things that we see in there besides Google Files is YouTube videos. So you can embed YouTube videos in there. That's certainly a good option. That's certainly nice to be able to have. When you are in Canvas, you will have this YouTube option that will give you the ability to insert a YouTube video from here. So when you click on it, you will be able to search for a YouTube video from right here, and then it'll give you some options for different sizes to embed your YouTube video. So that's something that's nice there. We did want to mention a couple of other things that some custom ways that you can embed YouTube videos in here as well. So you'll see down here at the bottom, there's a couple of things that you can include. One of them is this question mark realm equals 0. And essentially, and this part is in the course. If you haven't seen it in the course, it is in the course. This will give you the ability to add this to the end of your YouTube URL. And then you will be able to, what that will do is that will set your YouTube video to return to the beginning of the video once the video completes. So normally when a YouTube video finishes, you'll see a bunch of suggestions that pop up. This skips those suggestions and goes directly back to the beginning. So all you would have to do is I could take this question mark realm equals 0, and we're going to apply it into a YouTube video URL. So let's say, for example, I want to embed this YouTube video into one of my Canvas pages. You can go over here to share, and I could click on embed, and this will give me the embed code. Now you'll notice in the embed code, somewhere in the middle here is the URL for the video, which is right here. Here is the URL for the video. It's going to be in quotes. You'll see it right here in quotes, and it won't let me highlight it, but you'll just find that one. You'll see the www.youtube.com, and then you'll see the rest of it, and all of it will be in quotes. Inside the last quote here, you can add the that question mark rel equals 0. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this right now. I'm going to copy this as is. I'm going to go into Canvas. I got my cursor where I want my video to display, and I'm going to embed this. And the way that I embed it is I'm going to click on these 3 dots, and then I have this little cloud, and this is my embed option. So I can click on it, and I'm going to paste that embed code that I just got from YouTube. And then, like I was saying before, you just need to find this YouTube URL right here. And then right at the end of it, before you get to the quotes, we're just going to add that question mark rel equals 0. And then when I press submit, the YouTube video, it'll display as normal. But when I press save, when I press save and I play this video, I'm going to skip to the end. And so once you see the video ends, instead of showing suggestions, it goes right back to the beginning. And so now I can hit play again, and then my students can watch it again. So that's that realm equals 0 option that's available there. I know a lot of our teachers like that one, that option too. So that part is there. There is also a pop-up option. Now, to be clear, I've tried this a couple of times, and these two don't necessarily work well together. There's lots of different ways where you can modify the way your YouTube video looks, but these are just 2 different ones. So this first one took away the suggestions on the end. This pop-up one will display your video full screen and remove any advertisements. So sometimes when you're playing a YouTube video, the advertisements will pop up. And if you don't want that to happen, you can include this pop-up, this underscore pop-up in the URL. So what you will see is the URL will have the word watch in it. And if after watch, you put in that underscore pop-up like that, then you'll see it display full screen like that, and you'll be able to play it from here. And so there is no advertisement. You don't have to worry about that. So there's lots of different ways where you can do this. You can set your YouTube video to play a specific link or specific length, excuse me. So if you only want it to play from minute 1 to minute 2, and you don't want anything else to play, there's ways where you can customize that. If you want more information, you can send me an email. I will provide you on how you can do that. But we're pretty much at our time right now, so we won't have time to demonstrate that. But just know that that's possible. And the last thing I want to mention to you is the use of tables. So using tables is perfectly fine in Canvas, as long as you're using tables for what they were intended for, which is basically to set up a table for your content to live and be organized so that students can view this information, whatever it is. I just have some names here and some first quarter and second quarter. I mean, these could be a variety of things. These could be grades, these could be projections for sales or something like that. But it's here and it's holding content in the manner that tables were meant to. Once you start using tables in Canvas to align content, we might use tables the way I have it down here at the bottom, where maybe we have this same table, but at the top here, we've merged cells, and here's another one, we merged a couple of cells here, and we're just using it to align the content to make it look nice. Then that is where it becomes troublesome for screen readers. So we don't recommend using tables for that purpose. We just encourage you just to set up your Canvas course in a linear fashion in that way. If you really want to dig into it more, there are some HTML techniques that you can use that I'd be happy to share with you for those of you who are really interested, maybe outside of class time, I can support you with that. So that's everything that we wanted to cover today. I know we're a couple minutes over the time. Trish, I haven't checked the chat. Were you able to post the attendance in the chat? Did you say yes?
There you go. Yes,
oh,
I was
okay.
muted.
Sorry.
I was talking to myself. Yes, there it is.
Okay, thank you. So Trish has posted the attendance for today in the chat. So we just need you to click on that link and complete that. And once you have done that, you are all done for the day. You're welcome to sign off. We thank you for joining us. We do have our sessions again for the feedback portion of using Canvas tomorrow. It's at 9 o'clock, and we have another one at 2, so you can select whichever one is more convenient for you. But once you have filled out that form, you're welcome to go enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And thank you for joining us.